Intended for certain audiences, whatever that means.
The fix that I did for my water actually worked, so I'm very excited about that. The more eagle-eyed of you guys will notice that something is very wrong. And that something is that I ruined all of my video footage of Act 3 and Act 4. It ended up ruining all the footage because apparently, for some reason, it recorded all the sound and my voice on the same channel. Instead of just saying, "Whoops, we're done," I have reverted my save as best as I could through Diablo 2 Resurrection editor. I reverted it the best that I could back to Act 3, and we're going to run through Act 3 and 4, and then hopefully today we'll get through 5 as well. The only other solution would be I have to restart Sloshy again. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through the Den of Evil like I did before. Let's get going. I love this portion of the game. Let me just set it up for success here. And turn and death. I love it. So the map, it has been revealed. I know where everything's at, but I'm still gonna go through it like I need to. Notable things that happened during the stream that you guys didn't get to see because I'm not using that footage. Ooh, chain gloves, nice. I got to level 30, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and try the electricity traps because I heard that those are really, really good. So I tried them, and they were absolute hot dog shit for this run. I don't know if it was because I have so many monsters here, or they really truly are just trying to troll me into thinking that those are really good, but they are not. They were not. It turned Act 3 into an absolute slog. I had to stop and wait for things to die so that the corpse explosion part, it was not fun. It was not fun at all. Got the waypoint here. That's the Arachnid layer. I don't want that one. I want the spider cavern. So, ooh, pistol sword. Let's see if it's a 4-socket. Probably isn't. 2-socket. Get out of here. So, at the end of Act 3, I actually cheated a little bit. I cheated in the sense that I went to the Diablo 2 Resurrected editor online, and I gave myself a token of absolution to revert myself back to a fire trap assassin. And I haven't looked back ever since. I went through all of Act 4 with the fire traps, and it was kind of was a slog a little bit here and there because you have not fire immune yet, but you do have fire resistant enemies, most notably the Venom Lords. Those are definitely fire resistant, to say the least. It took me a little bit more to get through them. I died a few times here and there, and I went through all of Act 4 and had fun. It was all good. Nothing really wrong happened there. And then I got to Act 5, and then I was like, okay, let me export all this footage so that I can start editing it over the weekend. But it started recording everything on the same track, and it ruined everything. It ruined everything. I don't care about you. Let's just use you. Actually, hold on a second. Let me see if I can just pick this up. Oh, never mind. We got a Grand Scepter right there, too. I need to start selling some set items I know I'm not going to use. Shadowfang, 2-headed sword. 50% deadly strike. That's actually pretty cool. Cold resist. It's a nice weapon. So instead of just editing that video, they're dropping a lot of set items. I would rather just redo all the acts again. So there you go. Or let's deal with the present now. Let's deal with the present. I'm currently going through Act 3 of Diablo 2. This is a re-record, so we're gonna be working through a bunch of stuff as we go. Large shield. Oops. It's dropping a ton of potions and stuff.
Carry more
already. Get out of here, Tiger. This large shield Saigon, so maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. It could be Millibregas. It could be
a bunch of different things.
So while we're going through this act, I'm literally just going to speed through it as much as we can. I want to talk about the Rings of Power. Useless Shrine. So we're going to cut that inner mix between everything while we are going. I want to see if this is where I'm supposed to go. Yes, it is. Cool. Apris and I watched Rings of Power, and we watched all the way through Season 2, so if you guys don't want to hear anything about Rings of Power, then I suggest you guys turn off now or mute me or whatever. Let's check it out again. Greetings. Identify all the items that I'm not going to be able to use. I'm not going to trade out Spirit till the end of the game. The Dragon changed. Masteries for Barbarian. That's interesting. Not a really well-built spear. We got a ring. Another Manald heal. I mean, is it better than what I have here? It really isn't.
Well, that fire resistance is pretty cool, because I don't have fire resistance.
So if I click on this, put it here, we lose a little bit of poison resist, but we gain a lot of fire resist. I'm not going to get rid of that skull loop, because that is, or skill loop, or whatever the heck it was called, skull loop, because that's still a nice ring, but 2 Manald heals. Give me some fire resist. And then Arcana's Sign. I don't have an Arcana's. That's cool. Arcana's set. So I want to talk about the Rings of Power for just a moment. So, Apris and I watched the Rings of Power. We went all the way through Season 2. And my general assessment of that is it is hot garbage. I think out of general, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, it's not a 4 out of 5, a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 5 with this is hot garbage is a really hard scale. Why?
Well, I want to talk about the good first, before I talk about the bad.
The good things that they did is they really expanded the world of the dwarves. And that was something that I didn't know that I wanted until it was happening. And I was like, wow, I'm actually like really interested in hearing about dwarven, what's going on in those lands. I would love to hear more about it because that's really cool. It went into the dwarven like politics, and we got to see more about cities, which is something that was been drastically lacking in every single token work that we've seen. Where is that green? I keep seeing that green flash. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna go over here and grab this. Did I open the chest? No, it's right there. Okay, there's way too much stuff around here for me to see what's going on. Kaleem's eye. There we are. Whatever. Who cares? Ooh, a jade figurine. So to kind of give you guys a little bit of background, there is very much no dwarven history, lore, world building in any of Tolkien's works. The obvious exception to this rule is The Hobbit, yes, but they don't really go very much into dwarven stuff, even though the Hobbit, or Bilbo, follows these dwarves for like almost a month. Get out of here. Just grabbing garbage off the floor everywhere. They don't really go into a lot of the dwarven world or what's important to the dwarves or their cities and stuff like that. And then the Lord of the Rings don't do that either. Vidalia's Fetlock, 35% magical items, 150 stamina. We got better. And in the Lord of the Rings, they literally don't talk at all about at all. Or Gimli mentions it a few times in the books and the movies, but he doesn't really go into very much. Come on, give me my health. And then when we go into Moria, it's more about like traversing Moria, Khazad-dûm, and then it is about actually like dwarf life and dwarf world building. Well, there's a large section of the Rings of Power who is all about the dwarf world and dwarf world building. And that's great. I enjoy that so much. To go back a little bit about what I said about Lord of the Rings, the only time we really talk about visiting like dwarven cities is when Gimli is talking to Legolas about, oh, you should come and see our gem caverns, and you should come and see our dwarven works. And then Legolas is like, oh, you should come and see our forest so that we can share the beauty of our cultures. And that's a very sweet moment, and that's really cool. I like that. But other than that, there's nothing. And I think that's something that Rings of Power does. So the second thing they do right is they kind of do the same thing to the orcs as well. How they bless the dwarf and... Yeah. Tolkien is a great writer, and the Lord of the Rings books are fantastic. That really highlight a world-building hero's journey. The downside, though, is he focuses so much on these heroes, these world building, this journey, that the orcs seem very, very one-sided. They seem like they are evil. And that is how they are portrayed in Lord of the Rings. And there's nothing wrong with that, kind of. When you're creating your Ethereal, I hate Ethereal, and I hate that Ethereal and Socketed have the same color. So I don't want to pick Ethereal stuff. That stuff's garbage. But anyways, they seem very one-note. They seem evil. They have sided with Sauron, and they are there to destroy everything good and install an evil, fascist, magic-based government, because that is just what they are. And that seems very wrong to me, because that can't be right. There cannot be, in the whole entirety of orcs or orcs, that they're all evil. Give me more stats, give me more vitality. I'm very happy with that. Give me another level of Wake of Inferno. In all of Lord of the Rings, in all of Hobbit, in every work of everything, the orcs are always bad. They're always not good. They're there as an agent of destruction, and that's all that they are. And that seems very black and white. That's the big thing about Tolkien's work, though, is that his writing is very black and white, and it allows for this really powerful hero's journey, triumph against evil, a type of storytelling that's still really good. And if you don't have gray areas, for example, like, hey, let's introduce an orc that's actually good, then you don't have to worry about the nuances of fighting this faceless evilness that is the orcs. What Rings of Power does is it humanizes them in a way. It doesn't make them human, but it does point out that the Uruks had more motivations than just, I'm evil, let's be evil, let's destroy everything that's light and good. Okay, guys die. There's an orc that is with Edar's army that has a child, has a presumably mate or wife or whatever their version of a family unit is, and they push against Adar's like single-minded destructiveness of Sauron, and they voice their opinions, and they are somewhat heard. It really is kind of a plot point in the entire thing that Adar cares very much about these orcs. He does, and they have this not so evil, everything about them evil part, and that's really cool. I think that's really cool. They show in Rings of Power that not only are the orcs gray, they're not evil, they have a motivation. They're just trying to find a home that doesn't burn their skin. Oh my god, this is a genocide. Jesus. The Rings of Power points out that Sauron deceives them. Sauron deceives them and puts them under his evil spell, his evil whatever, in order to get the orcs on his side. It's not like they were just unhandedly evil, which I absolutely appreciate. Oh wait, I need to go to the Flayer dungeon. And it comes to find that they were deceived and lied to, and they were put under this evil spell of Sauron. Here we are going in the swampy pit. Oh, I don't want to go to the swampy pit. Get out of here. I thought that was the Flayer dungeon. So that is what that does good. That's what they do good. And I very much applaud them for that effort. But what did they do bad? This whole section of the act is literally going to be me talking about the Rings of Power. 2 sockets, don't care. Cow King's Hooves. Is this level 3? Level 2, damn it. Well, we're going to look at that in just a second. Arctic Mitts, we have one. Serpent Lord's Staff. Barbarian skill levels. This is probably the worst put together staff I've ever seen. 100% mana stolen per hit. Actually, that's too... Oh, maybe not. You could put together a really cool build around this, I think. So the Cow King's Hooves. This would be so much better if I had the set bonus to it, but I don't. 35 fire damage is cool. More run walk, although that's a lot less than I'm doing here. Well, actually, hold on a second. This might actually be good. So that's 35 fire damage. It doesn't say 35 fire damage per hit. It just says fire damage 35. So if I go here, inventory and skill tree. So let's say here, fire damage is 216 to 248. If we go to my inventory and put this on, does that change? 216 to 248. Well, I guess not. That would have been really cool. And I'm going to keep the Cow King's Hooves just in case I get a better item for that set. So now that we're done with that, this whole half of the section is going to be me talking about Lord of the Rings. Oh my god. This is literally a genocide. This has to be a war crime. Like Vietnam, Korea sort of levels of things. Except again, these are black. This is black and white, and all of these people are enemies. So we get what we get. Oh my god, there's so many of them. You know, before we were killing monsters, now we are like killing people and things. I'm not so sure I'm into that. Okay, so what does Lord of the Rings do wrong, or the Rings of Power do wrong? It is, in essence, terrible story writing. Galadriel, start with her. She is a one-note pony. Throughout the entire story, very, very, very little actual character growth, character progression. Very little, because she is this one-note vengeance machine that is really just a huge fucking... She's terrible. She's just straight up terrible. Ooh, there's the given. And she's hard to realize that she's a good person. Just her mannerisms, the way she acts, the way she treats everything, her single-minded like push towards, we have to kill Sauron, we have to kill for every single cost that could possibly be, makes her just a terrible character. I literally cannot empathize. Or, oh my god. Why these people can't die? There we go. And every time she is on screen, I realize just a little bit more why everybody hates the elves. She uses everybody. She gaslights them into thinking that this is exactly what they want. And she ruins everything. Big, giant plot spoiler here. If you guys don't want to be plot spoiled by Lord of the Rings of Power, you can go ahead right now and mute me or whatever. But I do not, in any way, shape, or form, understand why she did not tell that Halbrand was Sauron to the two people who could have done something about it. As in matter of fact, the whole last section, the whole second season, could have been resolved before it even happened if she would have just told Celebrimbor and Elrond that Halbrand was Sauron. She found it out. She was put under her spell, and for some stupid, fucked up, dumb-ass plot reason, she did not. And as a matter of fact, the main plot of the beginning of Season 2 is literally Elrond knowing that Halbrand was Sauron and racing to Gil-galad, which is the king of the elves, to tell him that, hey, let's not use these rings because they were created possibly with Sauron's influence. And what did they do? They used the rings anyways. You know what would have happened if Galadriel just boobed up and told Celebrimbor and Elrond that the Rings of Power could possibly have been influenced or made by Sauron? The exact same thing, with one huge caveat. That huge caveat being that Celebrimbor may or may not have fallen under the grasp of Sauron, Halbrand, and maybe, possibly, not have made the Rings of Power for the men and the dwarves, which is truly what allowed Sauron to become very powerful. There's the Flayer jungle, by the way, or the Flayer dungeon, we got that done for. Again, I'm going to use this whole act to talk about Ring of Power, because that's just what this is going to be. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. God, I'm killing so many little people. This has to be something that I'm going to get some, at least angry letters in the mail for. The Silmarillion is, let's say it as a frame of a house. Like, the Silmarillion isn't really a well-written story, They do have a few places where the story is quite fleshed out and it makes sense and it's actually pretty good. But the mass majority of that book is literally just a terrible rambling of somebody who doesn't know what they're writing. Oh my god, it's just I'm talking about nerd stuff and also killing thousands of little people. You do what you want to do, build your house around that framework, and as long as you don't change the framework very much, then please go ahead and make as much work as you possibly can, because I want Lord of the Rings. I want Lord of the Rings works. So I probably talked 20 minutes now about just that section. So what the Lord of the Rings, the Ring of Power, is doing is they're making up their own story around the creation of the rings, and we know what's going to happen. You know, what's his face? Galadriel, Elrond, Gil-galad, Sauron. These big names. We know that they're going to live. We know that they're going to survive. It's just that's what the bones of the story is telling us. But how the Rings of Power were made, how that relates to everybody's storylines and stuff like that is up for debate and up for creation of somebody who wants to take that effort to do that. So I am not so mad about whoever is creating this Rings of Power story. I'm not so mad that they're changing things around and making a cohesive story. I am angry that they're doing it poorly. There was no reason at all, in any way, shape, or form, was there ever a reason that, given Galadriel's hatred for Sauron, and given her character, does she ever, in any way, shape, or form, not at all tell the people who could do things about it who Sauron was? And that literally started me off on, this is a really fucking poorly written story. That one plot point made me absolutely just, I can't anymore. I can't anymore with this story. That is Sanders' Superstition. Well, I wish I could get Sanders' Superstition at level 2, because then we can get a third thing for that one. That would be interesting. And that kind of goes into another reason why I hated this story. It's because the Rings of Power went for, I think, 10 episodes on the first season and 8 episodes on the second one. None of the story elements that were brought forth were deserved. Why do I say that? Well, let's just talk about the Númenórean section in the beginning. Galadriel gets shipwrecked. Well, she doesn't get shipwrecked. She jumps off the ship to not go back to the Promised Land or whatever. She ends up getting picked up by a Númenórean ship. We come to find out through a lot of world building that the Númenóreans they hate the elves. They hate the elves. For whatever reason they do, or for whatever reason's going on, they don't really go into that very much, but the Númenóreans hate the elves. Galadriel needs an army. So, after being deemed as evil and bad, and nobody wants to work with her, they decide that they're going to ship her off into the Middle Earth so that they don't have to deal with her. They don't have to deal with an elf on their lands, because everybody hates elves. Everybody does, even the Queen. The Queen absolutely hates the elves too. Ooh, here's the book. Finally, I get to complete this quest. Kaleem Esen's Tome. That's enough of that. Let's get moving. So, Galadriel tries to convince the Queen of, I need an army. We need an army to go fight Sauron. Sauron is evil, and we need to do this. And she's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not sending Númenóreans to die for your made-up quest of Sauron being back. So they ship her out on the ship, but magically, just magically, one single conversation with Galadriel at the very end and some falling leaves somehow convinced the Queen. We are now on Galadriel's side. We are now going to send thousands of Númenóreans out to fight for her cause. And we are going to do this, that, and the other thing. And it is awful. There was no build-up to it. There was no... The Queen and Galadriel talked maybe three times throughout the whole entire story, and it was always about how we don't want you here, how we hate you, how our people are never going to follow an elf. We don't want this to happen. And then magically, she does. She gets her army, and then that's it. There's no, like, build up to it. There's no... And you can find that all throughout the Rings of Power. All throughout the Rings of Power. That these big, giant story elements that could have taken almost a whole season for us to, like, build up into, or at least an episode to build up into, they don't build up into it. And it makes for just poor storytelling. Long story short, every time Galadriel was on screen, I rolled my eyes because she was just an insufferable. And then every single time the Numenorian plot was on the screen, I knew that none of this was going to matter. Any of the plot points that weren't just them directly fighting Urks was just going to be a hop, skip, and a jump. Am I already full? What the fuck? Picking up this garbage. Wasn't going to matter because they were just going to... What? Did I drop that for some reason? They were just going to jump over it anyways, and no other plot point was going to matter. So who cares? Why do I care so much? And to the very end of all of this, why do I care so much? Because the Rings of Power, in the end, is just someone's interpretation of some events that were going to happen. Because if you're going to make a Tolkien work, if you're going to spend the time to take this beloved... Oh my god, I'm getting literally just massacring humans left and right. If you're going to take the time to make a work of art out of what is already essentially seen as a work of art, make it good. Can we get something that's working here? Thank you. So take the time to build the story. Take the time to build the world. Take the time to actually make it good. And I do not think that Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, took the time to make it good. Can we make my shit work all of a sudden? Come on. Actually, I think this would probably be a better way. He is fire enchanted, but this does a lot more damage. There may be someone down the road that does it again. We love to repeat stuff. I agree. I would love to have another chance at a good work of Tolkien. What the hell? I thought you were closer to dying. Oh, he's being cured. That's what's going on.
I can't carry him.
The Lord of the Rings is a masterful work. It's done with so much care to the source material that, like, it's just it is a masterpiece. The Hobbit, for the first half of it, is the same way. For the first half, or for the first movie and the second half of the second movie is done. Oh, I didn't identify him. It's done in that way. Should stop really picking up set items. The Hobbit movies were good. They were overall, I think, good. Were they great? No. Did they deserve better? Yes. But they were still good works. Make it good. Just make it good. Take the time to make it good. The Lord of the Rings Ring of Power was not done with that same care. So now, at risk of making this entire video about Lord of the Rings, because we've only been playing for about an hour, and I've been talking massively just about that video, or just about those videos, here we are at the Durance of Hate. I very much just kind of speed run through everything, and here we are. That wasn't a very good potion. Oh my gosh. But anyways, I want to point out something I said before. You know, in the Durance of Hate, we truly are just killing, like, monsters again. So it's not nearly, like, as terrible. There we go. I don't care. I know what that is. But this really does feel like I am mowing down a lot, and it makes me feel a little more questioning about my efforts. And the only reason I bring that up is because we were just talking about gray areas and all that stuff, even though the literal manifestation of evil is not a gray area. But when I am in a normal game of Diablo, my thoughts about, am I doing war crimes, doesn't really manifest. And I think it's because I'm only killing some people. I'm killing small groups of people, small groups of enemies and stuff like that. So it doesn't register in my mind that I'm causing literally a pure genocide of a whole entire race of beings. And then when we're talking about pure evil, I don't care about killing pure evil. I mean, these are just pure evil creatures. That's exactly what it is.
Slash Players 8.
But I now start to get a problem when it comes to, like, yes, they are attacking me, Apris. I am basically in self-defense mode here. But is it really truly right to kill off literal generations of people because they are brainwashed, because they are being manipulated or taken... we don't want to be that close to this guy. Because they are being taken as evil? Like, what is right here? And as I was mentioning, if it's only like small groups of people, I don't feel that kind of problem. But I am literally killing hundreds, if not thousands, of creatures who might have some gray reasons as to why they are following Diablo and Mephisto. Again, the monsters in here, not that big of a deal because these are literal pure evil undead. I'm talking about, say, like the Zakarum, or not the Steigen dolls, but the Flayers. The Flayers. Am I really there because they're corrupted and evil by Mephisto, or are they defending their homeland? Or if they're not defending their homeland, are they truly, honestly so evil that they are not, they're beyond redemption? Or just kind of following a religion? Look at that life go. There's Mephisto's life. And he is down. With that in mind, let's get away from gray areas and go to objectively evil. Objectively evil.